There's also sizes of yachts, including super yacht and mega yacht, which isn't yacht big enough?
No, you need a mega yacht.
What's good? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of The Newest Olympian. My name is Mike Schubert. I'm the titular Newest Olympian. I'm a grown man who never read the Percy Jackson books as a kid, but now I'm reading them as an adult on a quest to determine if this is a book series that we've all been sleeping on. And this is a quest that I'm not on alone. I'm joined by another wonderful guest. You might know her from her incredible art, whether it's for TNO stuff or beyond. She is a Percy Jackson podcaster from Chile. It's Sarah Barra. She did give me permission to roll the R's. Sarah, how's it going?
Fine. Nice to meet you, Mike.
Nice to meet you as well. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast, especially this chapter, which is truly a wild one. But before we get into chapter 12 of The Sea of Monsters, what is your background with Percy Jackson? When did you first read the books? What has shaped your fandom, etc.?
Sure. First, I'm in love with mythology. One of my favorite things is Greek mythology. When these books came out, I was at the end of high school. So I wasn't reading any novels at all. I was only reading textbooks because I want to get to university. So
of course,
novels, nothing. I knew that they existed because they started to compare it to Harry Potter and They were in the mix. So it was somewhere in my radar, but didn't know what they were about or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And then many years later, I saw that a movie came out. So I saw the movie first. At first, the movie was fine for me. It wasn't amazing. Mm-hmm. It was fun because it was Greek mythology. It was an AY series. It was fun. And then I checked that books existed. I said, I need to read these books then. And I bought all of them at the same time. Obviously, the books are better.
Yes.
Way, way better. Then after that, I never stopped. I read them all in a span of like a week and a half, probably.
Okay.
So, consume the books.
Yeah.
This was around when they were releasing the third book from the second saga.
Okay.
So I caught up and then I had to wait for the fourth one. And it was terrible.
Right.
Yes.
No, I can completely understand that. Especially, I know people do that with this podcast where it's got a couple episodes out. They listen all the way through. They get caught up. Very sad. This is not a very common occurrence for me since I'm usually late to the party for stuff. But this happened with me in Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't start watching until it was in between seasons 5A and 5B. And when I finally got caught up, I was thinking, oh my God, I have to wait a full week? What am I going to do? So yeah, I can relate for sure.
Yes. So yeah, and after that, I just read everything that Reed Riordan put out. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic. So I'm very excited to get into this chapter. Shall we have no further ado and get right into chapter 12 of The Sea of Monsters?
Yeah, we're fine. We can go to the spa.
Yeah, to the spa, which is going to be totally nice and great, and everything's going to be okay. Just a fun, relaxing chapter where everything is totally chill.
I wish.
So this chapter is called We Check In to Cece's Spa and Resort. And I did intentionally put a pause there because it's in space 2. And me being far too nitpicky with everything, I thought, shouldn't it be into one word instead of in space 2? And then I wondered to myself, when do you use in to versus into? And apparently, at least according to the first result on Google, you use into one word to describe where something is, like if you were going inside of a place. You use in space to based on the verb that comes before it, but it can have many meanings. But according to this website, a quick tip is if you can use in order to, then you can say in space to. So I think that means Rick Riordan used the wrong thing here.
Probably you're asking the wrong person here because English is my second language, so I don't know.
Sure. The rules are silly. They are ridiculous, but perhaps this is a bit of a goof. But also this is the most minor thing. It was just something I picked up on. But of course, I want to start this chapter with a guess. So in my notes before reading this chapter, I figured it would for sure be some sort of Greek thing. And I thought either it will be helpful and it'll just be a nice, relaxing chapter. Maybe they meet someone who can help them on their future journeys. Or it's going to be the classic thing where it seems fine, and then at the very end, it's not okay, and then they have to run away. I don't want to act like this is an amazing guess on my part, because that really is the two options when stuff like this happens, but I knew there was no in between. This was either unicorns and rainbows or horrible.
Yeah. They could be horrible unicorns too.
That is very true. Wouldn't be surprised if that was one of the monsters.
Yep.
So Percy wakes up in a rowboat with a makeshift sail made out of gray uniform fabric, so clearly this is from the dead Confederates, and he tries to sit up, but he immediately feels woozy, and Annabeth, who is in the boat with him, tells him to rest because he will need it. Notably, we have not seen anything about Tyson being in this boat. Percy asks about Tyson, and Annabeth shakes her head and says that she's really sorry. Then there's an awkward and sad silence, but Annabeth tries to put a positive spin on it, which I feel a lot of kinship to. Anytime something bad happens, I immediately look for any silver lining and try to convince myself that it's okay. She says maybe he survives since fire can't kill him. But man, what a very sad opening to the chapter.
Yeah, I mean, we started to like a lot Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
So to see him not with the group anymore, without saying if he's alive or not, is kind of concerning and a bit sad, especially after Percy started to feel like he needed him.
Right.
So it's the perfect moment to start thinking about Tyson.
Yeah, it was definitely sad because, as you pointed out, Percy's finally recognizing that Tyson is helpful and he likes Tyson more. He's less embarrassed. So it's extra crushing that we've got upward momentum of how Percy feels about Tyson, and now he is maybe gone. I feel like there's no way he's actually gone. There's no way we would be introduced to such a wonderful, lovely, perfect character and have him taken away from us right away unless he comes back. Because Sally went away, but then she came back. I feel like Tyson's going to be okay. Maybe we don't see him till a surprise reveal later in the book, but I feel like he's got to be okay. Maybe I'm just telling myself this because I don't know how I would deal with Tyson actually being gone, but it's crushing.
Yeah, it is. He's a good boy.
He's a very good boy.
We need him. So.
We do. But yeah, it's always hard for me to not read ahead when I'm doing these episodes. And previously, we just did chapter 11 and I didn't read ahead. But man, it was really tempting to want to read chapter 12 to figure out if Tyson was okay.
Yep.
Didn't take me long to see, at least for what we know right now, not okay. But I feel like he's going to be okay. Percy has this really sweet quote about him as the narrator saying, he'd given his life for us, and all I could think about were the times I'd felt embarrassed by him and had denied that the two of us were related. And that is very sad, but it's at least nice that Percy has fully recognized that he was being a jerk before. But if this is the last we see of Tyson, that's just a pit that's going to forever be in Percy's stomach.
Yeah, it's a huge weight that Percy could carry along. So yeah, it's not fun.
No, not fun at all. So Annabeth was able to save some stuff from the explosion. So we've got the now empty Hermes thermos, the Hermes, and we've got a Ziploc bag full of ambrosia. We have some sailors' shirts and a bottle of Dr. Pepper because, of course, they are teenagers. You have to save the soda naturally.
Yeah, it's funny because in the podcast that I do with my friends, we compare the English version with the Spanish version.
Okay.
So here they changed Dr. Pepper to another kind of soda that we understand. It's called 7-Up.
Oh,
so
I didn't realize 7-Up was big down there.
Yeah, it's not much right now. It used to be like a few years ago. So when we were rereading these books, it said 7-Up and it was like, oh, I have never read the books in Spanish. I only read them in English. Mm-hmm. So my friends telling me about these little details are very, very fun for me.
That's cool. I wonder if it changes it based on location too. I was recently traveling in India and they're very big Pepsi drinkers over there because Coca-Cola didn't want to share their recipe or formula with them, and I think the Indian version of whatever the FDA is wanted to know before they would sell them, so Pepsi got their feet in there first, and it's way more of a Pepsi town. And then Coke tried to make some local thing called Thumbs Up where it kind of tastes like Coke, but it's a little different. So honestly, I had some, it was very good. It's like truly an Indian Coke where it's got a little more spice going in. It was a whole ordeal. So I wonder if the soda changes for everything. I feel like there's a country in South America where they drink Inca Cola, the golden soda.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Peru. And we had it too. So, yeah, it's kind of the same. And it's very funny because for us, Dr. Pepper was a very foreign thing.
Sure.
I think I saw Dr. Pepper here like a couple of years ago, 2018 probably. I don't know.
Okay.
So it's very new. So for me, it was normal because I've been reading and listening about things from the US for several years. So Dr. Pepper was normal to see in a book. Mm-hmm. And comparing it to a translation and having a different brand was like, oh, this is different. I didn't know about this. But yeah.
It's really funny. It's a fun little anecdote. So we learn that Annabeth fished Percy out of the water, and from his ripped bag, they were able to save the multivitamins. And then, of course, he still has riptide. So lost some stuff, but not a complete loss. We've got the important things.
What if Percy ripped his pants and don't have any pockets anymore?
I don't know. See, the pocket dynamic of Riptide is truly interesting to me.
It's so weird. I always remark this because I usually don't have pockets in my pants because it's very difficult to find pants with pockets for women.
Right. Unfair. A huge injustice in the fashion industry.
It's the worst. But thinking about the dynamics, he fell from the sky to the water. And probably other stuff. So maybe his clothes are not completely in perfect state. I don't know.
Right. The only thing I can gather is maybe it is similar to how when he gets into the water, his clothes don't get wet.
Oh,
maybe when he fell into the water, the powers of the sea godness that made him not affected by such a big fall, because he noted as the narrator, it would have broken every bone in my body had I not been the son of the sea god. Maybe that also translates to his clothes, where his clothes also didn't rip or tear or anything because he fell into water. So if he fell down a hill or a mountain, yeah, maybe stuff rips. But because it was water, maybe the clothes are okay. And that's how the pocket doesn't have a hole in it.
That could be helpful too, because if Annabeth is taking him out of the water, usually you're very heavy with your wet clothes.
True. So, very true.
Yeah. Could be very beneficial.
Indeed, indeed. So they sail for hours in the brilliant green waters of the Sea of Monsters, and narrator Percy says that the wind smelled fresh and salty, but it carried a strange metallic scent, as if a thunderstorm were coming, or something even more dangerous, which is incredibly ominous of narrator Percy. Percy knows exactly where they need to go and how far away they are, but this quote doesn't make him feel any less lost, which is really deep. He's getting into a bit of moody teenager type stuff, but it's still written well. But it's funny that he's becoming, in sad moments, much more dramatic, I feel, in this book than he did in The Lightning Thief.
Yeah. I mean, he's 13.
Yeah, he's going to write some moody stuff that would have fit perfectly on our MySpace pages or Facebook statuses
probably
in the
Tumblr.
era. Oh, Tumblr. Yeah. That's a really
Tumblr.
good spot for it as well.
I'm pretty sure Percy will be a Tumblr boy, probably. I don't know.
Yeah. I remember the moodiest thing I ever posted on social media was in the era of Facebook where you would do status updates and was always there. So it would be Mike Schubert is whatever. And I remember my girlfriend sophomore year of high school broke up with me, and I made my my status update Mike Schubert is ... and then posted it.
Oh no.
Oh, so dramatic. Gosh, me and my bowl cut.
No, I used to have Messenger.
Oh yeah.
So we used to put updates there in our nicknames.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Wrote everything that you were feeling was a big text next to your username. It was so weird.
For sure. I know it well, Percy. I feel your dramatic pain of your teenage years. So Percy catches Annabeth up to what happened in his most recent dream, and Annabeth says that they probably have 24 hours to find and save Grover, assuming that Polyphemus doesn't change his mind and try to marry Grover earlier. And this causes a now bitter Percy to say, yeah, you can never trust a Cyclops. And Annabeth just instantly apologizes for being wrong about Tyson, which I appreciate. I think that this is very healthy of her. And speaking of healthy, Percy, as the narrator reveals that he can't stay mad at her even if he tried. This friendship is so good, and they're being nice to each other. They are admitting faults. They are admitting to themselves that they've been through so much that they can't hate each other. They can't resent each other. I really like this. It's a really well-written dynamic.
It's one of my favorite pairings in media in general because it's very solid and it's not perfect, because they have a lot of discussions. We saw that in previous chapters. But yeah, they are very genuine with each other. It's so good. I love them.
It's really nice. And you made a good point. They're not perfect, but they communicate and they express themselves and they admit faults. And I think that that is really nice and refreshing to read. But it's also nice when you're writing a book series geared towards younger kids. You can use this as a way to teach them lessons and teach them how to be better people. I think it's brilliant writing from Rick Riordan. So Percy asks Annabeth what Chiron's prophecy is, and Annabeth is hesitant because knowledge isn't always good for you, which causes Percy to say, "Your mom is the wisdom goddess." Tremendous reply. Yes. Annabeth astutely points out that every time a hero knows their future, they try to change it, and it never works. It's very valid. Percy, though, can at least guess, and he feels pretty confident in guessing, that the gods fear something about him when he turns 16. And Annabeth confirms, saying that she doesn't know the full prophecy, but she knows that it warns about the half-blood child from the Big Three. The next one to reach the age of 16 will be a dangerous weapon, and that is the real reason that the Big Three signed that pact after World War II. Mm-hmm. So Percy asks why, and Annabeth says because that hero will decide the fate of Olympus. Either they save the age of the gods or they destroy it, which is a pretty high-stakes situation. No real middle ground there.
Yeah, it's especially for anyone age 16.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty wide range of people. You just got to have that one big qualifier of being the demigod child of a Big Three god. Narrator Percy has a fun note where he says, "I couldn't get seasick, but this suddenly made me feel ill," which is fun. This also causes him to realize that is why Kronos didn't kill him. And Annabeth confirms it's because Percy could be very useful to Kronos. So it's pretty big stuff. I feel like this is a pretty heavy reveal right here.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge note regarding the prophecy. And also, side note, but they just throw Kronos' name here like it's nothing.
Oh, super casually.
Yeah, it's like we used to say that they didn't need to say the names because they bring something around. Mm-hmm. So here's just like, it's Kronos, we name it. But one of my friends told me that probably it's not effective here in this chapter, that the sky is not making any noises or something weird's happening around them because they are in the Sea of Monsters. So they probably are in a plane where everything is magic and dangerous. So here, it's nothing else can be worse than being here.
It's already max saturated to be the worst thing.
Yes.
So saying the evil guy's name doesn't make it any more evil.
Yes, it is worse and it's not getting any worse.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. So Annabeth goes on to point out that you can't know for sure that it's going to be Percy until he reaches the age of 16, notably because he might not even reach the age of 16.
Fine.
Yeah, very, very fun stuff to hear from your closest friend. Hey, you might not live for 3 more years, dude, so we can't tell if it's you or not. But she points out that Chiron thought it would be Thalia, and this has me wondering, as someone who's been guessing that Thalia is going to come back at some point, if she does come back, I don't know how age and birthdays align with her versus Percy, but would she turn 16 earlier than Percy? Because that would be really interesting if she comes back and then she's going to be the person that would be the prophecy and it's not actually about Percy. We could kind of be in a little similar to Harry Potter prophecy where is it Harry, is it Neville?
Sure.
Multiple people could qualify for the same circumstances type thing, which I think is very interesting.
It is. I don't know about that. It depends on how you interpret age.
Yeah. Does her life as a tree count as age? Does it freeze her in time?
Yeah, exactly.
That'll be an interesting discussion we'll have to have whenever we see if Thalia comes back, but I feel like she is. Narrator Percy says, quote, "On our port side, a spiky green dorsal fin about 15 feet long curled out of the water and disappeared." And then there's no other comment. So that felt like, okay, Percy, interesting to not say anything further about that.
That's what I mean with there's nothing worse than being there. So, yeah.
It would be fun if that's just weird thing. Not coming back at all. Just a weird thing in the ocean. Little flavor text.
And I think they're also really tired. And there's a monster right there. And they are just like, whatever, I'm just not dealing with that.
Yep, it makes sense. We're in the Sea of Monsters. That's a monster. I'm not going to question it. Let's just keep going.
Yep.
So Annabeth tells Percy that he is the only known living option right now for that prophecy. And the reason why is because specifically the prophecy said half-blood child. So that rules out all of the monster children like Tyson that exist. Percy asks, okay, so why do the gods keep me alive? Wouldn't it be safer to kill me? And Annabeth says, you're right. To which Percy replies, thanks a lot.
The best response.
What else can you say?
Yep.
Annabeth tries to make Percy feel better by saying that some of the gods are waiting to see what kind of person Percy becomes because he could be a savior. It's either you save the gods or you destroy them. So some people are waiting and trying to give Percy the benefit of the doubt before trying to jump to too rash of a decision. Percy asks if the prophecy gave any sort of hint about what direction the person would go. Annabeth hesitates, and then, of course, a seagull interrupts by swooping in and dropping a cluster of leaves on Annabeth's lap. I am a noted seagull hater on this podcast, and sure, it let Annabeth know that they are close to land, and that's fun and useful and good, but also the seagull is the reason we don't know what's happening, ruined the conversation. How dare you? Of course, this is just like a YA plot device thing, but seagull, how dare you?
It has to be a seagull. So yeah, they need to interrupt everything.
They only know how to be
aggressive.
Annoying. Yeah, how are seagulls down in South America? I've never witnessed a South American
annoying.
Seagull. Okay, good. Glad we can share this. I'm very pro-pigeon and anti-seagull on this podcast.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't mind pigeons because they're annoying too, but less than seagulls. Seals are terrible sometimes. So,
I'm glad we can see eye to
I don't
eye.
like them that much.
When Kelly and I were in India, we saw some pigeons and they were very majestic. We were in more tropical places as opposed to the pigeons we see in New York City. They were thriving in the trees we were at. Yeah, truly. And we also learned from a book about Indian birds that you can have not just gray pigeons. You can have pigeons with beautiful colored feathers, greens and yellows. It was really interesting to learn about pigeons, me and Kelly's favorite bird.
Awesome.
So back to our heroes here. What do you know? They are, in fact, approaching land. They see an island with a mountain in the middle of it. There's also white buildings, palm trees along the beach, and a harbor filled with various boats. They are greeted by a woman with a clipboard who looks like a flight attendant, and Percy sees that the hodgepodge of boats in the harbor covers a pretty broad range. You've got pleasure yachts, which I didn't know there was a different type of yacht. Are there business yachts? I was very confused by him calling them pleasure yachts.
I don't know, probably. I'm not that versed in yachts.
Nope,
I've never been in one, so I don't know. But yeah, I thought like yachts were like a very rich thing, so I don't know if there's a different kind of yacht. Are those the ones that have their crew that they take only tourists or something like that? It's not like a private one? I don't know.
Let's see. So apparently on this boating website I found, there are sailing yachts, there are motor yachts, gullet or goulet yachts, open yachts, luxury yachts, sports yachts, and catamaran yachts. There's also sizes of yachts, including super yacht and mega yacht, which isn't yacht big enough? My
no,
goodness.
You need a mega yacht.
I'm also now entering the thing by reading yacht and just pronouncing it yacht. It doesn't feel like a real word anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't say the CH in it. So we're just going to move on and get back to the podcast. I know nothing about yachts. I am nowhere near fancy enough. Are you kidding me? So yeah, pleasure yachts. But in addition to pleasure yachts, there is a U.S. naval submarine. There are dugout canoes and an old school 3-masted sailing ship, which I do at least know from the cover of the book that I have, we see people on one of those ships. So I adjusted my prediction here that this place is either in the good situation, they let them use this boat, and in the bad situation, they escape on this boat. We will see what happens. There's also a helipad with a Fort Lauderdale news chopper, and there is a short runway with a Learjet and a propeller plane that looks like it came out of the World War II era. What a very interesting depository of vehicles we have here at this mysterious island.
Yeah, I love that here Percy said that they could be replicas for tourists. Mm-hmm. He's in denial. I guess he's not getting the hint that he's not even close to normal places.
Of course not. He's not the most observant in general, but he's certainly not the most observant when he's tired, and that is the case here. Speaking of being tired, we're going to take a little bit of a break here for the sea of sponsors, where we talk about fun updates and stuff, but we'll be right back. Hello and welcome to the Sea of Sponsors. If you're looking for more long-form content from me, but you want something a little bit different than a podcast, I'm very happy to report that I uploaded a new YouTube video with Brandon Grugel. It is kind of a gaming video. Brandon and I have decided to begin raising a Neopet child. We have a tiny blue Kachik named Shrugel, which is the combination of our two names. There's a 45-minute video at youtube.com/Shub17. I think that works, or you can search for Good Neopet Parenting with Brandon and Shubes, and it'll show up. It's just a screen recording of us on a call playing Neopets. It's a fun, silly time, and if you want something a little bit different where I'm a big goofball with Brandon, I think you're going to like it. Go check that out. Speaking of checking things out, if you live in the Phoenix, Arizona area or nearby Phoenix, or if you just want to go to Phoenix for some reason in May, there's a Potterless live show coming to Phoenix, Arizona on May 18th. I'm going to be doing another edition of What the Heck is the Plot of Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, where I try to make sense of the plot of the very strange Harry Potter iPhone game. It's going to be great. Going to be a fun time. If you want to get tickets, you can go to potterlesspodcast.com/live. And at that website, you can also see if we're coming to a city near you, and you can get tickets to a city near you or a city not near you if you want to travel to see a show. And on a related note, every time we have a Monday off for the newest Olympian, I post an old Potterless live show episode over on the Potterless feed. And I just wanted to give you all a scheduling heads up that on Monday, May 30th, there will be no episode of the newest Olympian because May is one of those months where there are 5 Mondays and I take those off so that I can relax and breathe and work on other things, honestly. But don't worry, there will still be book-related content from me coming to your ears if you go to the Potterless feed, and that is going to be on May 30th. And also, as always, if you go to thenewestolympian.com/about, you can see what the upcoming schedule is. You can see what chapters will be on future episodes, so you will know how much to read and whenever we're taking a week off. Now, if you go to thenewestolympian.com/Patreon, you can support the show and get access to bonus content, bonus episodes, physical merch items like stickers and pins, lots of fun stuff over there. And I want to give a shout out to the newest members of our team over at thenewestolympian.com/Patreon. So shout out to our newest Ultra God tier patron, Tyler Hendricks. Shout out to our newest God tier patrons, the Nargle Watcher, Kelly Lamellis Pence, and Jonathan Kramer. And shout out to our newest Demigod tier patrons, JP the NB and Me You're Adorable. Thank you all so much. May Demeter bless you with the perfect sense of weather so that you bring just the right thickness of jacket so you're not too warm and not too cold. And speaking of support, I want to thank Multitude for having us as a part of the collective. I'm recording this from the Multitude studio, back from my travels. If you are looking for another podcast to listen to, maybe you're all caught up on TNO, you could listen to Multitude shows, and I make a whole bunch of them. One of the ones I make is Horse. Horse is a comedy podcast about the most ridiculous stories of the NBA and the WNBA in the present and the past, and it's co-hosted by me and Adam Mamawala. And whether you are a basketball fan or you are new to basketball or you just want to understand what everyone is subtweeting about in regards to the NBA playoffs that are currently going on, you can listen to Horse. We are a basketball podcast that has no gatekeeping. We are open for all. We are a funny alternative if you are in the weeds of basketball and you just want something fun to listen to. Or if you want a primer for understanding basketball, Horse can be that. Or if you just want to hear two longtime friends goofing it up about wild stories, whether it's current basketball or basketball history, you should listen to Horse. You can search for Horse wherever you get your podcasts, or you can go to horsehoops.com. And before we wrap up here, you're going to hear words from a few sponsors who make it feasible for me to be a full-time podcaster. Some of these ads will be read by me, others of them won't. The ones that are not read by me are inserted locally. So if you download an episode while you are in an airport during a transfer flight, don't be surprised if you hear an ad relevant to wherever your layover is. But once those ads are complete, we'll get back to this episode of The Newest Olympian. And we're back. Wow, what a fun time. So the clipboard lady asks Annabeth and Percy if this is their first time with them, and they go, which confirms, yes, it is their first time. She reveals that it is a spa, and she suggests an herbal wrap for Annabeth, and quote, of course, a complete makeover for the young gentleman, which when I read this, I thought, that's very rude. And then that line, in retrospect, makes a lot more sense given what ends up happening to our good friend Percy.
Oh, yeah.
So she says that Cece will want to speak with them, Cece from the chapter title, and she will want to speak with them personally before the luau. And that made me feel instantly, this is not a good place. Just someone's got to talk with them before some big event makes me feel like that event can't be good. I don't like that the person in charge wants to see them. Immediately, the hope of it being good was gone.
It's weird.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that the director of the place is going to talk to you like a new guest. It's very, very mysterious.
Right.
And also, if they're offering a luau, and these kids are very tired, very hungry, I guess they prefer the luau and then to talk to anyone.
Yes. I think the biggest red flag is the person in charge coming down. That's not good. You don't want to check into the Holiday Inn and they go, oh, Stephen Holiday Inn is going to talk to you. That's not good. Why is he here? Why is he coming down? So yes, for the titular Cece to want to speak with them personally, I would have gotten in the rowboat and rowed away. So narrator Percy even admits, look, I know that we're no strangers to traps and stuff, but after being at sea for hours in a rowboat, we didn't really care. And if I already didn't think this was going to be a bad place, that just cemented it. And I do appreciate that Rick writing these books really through the vessel of narrator Percy is just saying, look, we all know what's going to happen here, but let's have some fun. You know what we're getting into. This is a bad idea, but they're tired, so let's just see what happens.
This is a very similar situation that they had with the Lotus Hotel in the first book, and didn't know anything back then. But now it's like, we know this is a trap, probably. Right. But we don't care.
Yeah, they know, we know, Rick knows that we know they know. We're all just going to have a fun time here. This is what happens in the middle of these books.
Yeah.
Now, Annabeth mutters, I guess it couldn't hurt. And narrator Percy says, of course it could, but we followed the lady anyway. And because narrator Percy was being so clearly in on the, this is probably a trap approach, a little voice inside my head thought, well, maybe this is the biggest misdirect and everything will be okay.
Oh,
but just the tiniest. I didn't fully rule it out, but I was looking at 99% bad, 1% good.
I mean, I wish and I hope any spa is just good.
Right.
Nothing bad happens ever. So yeah.
It would be nice. A spa is great. I'm not one to normally go to spas. When we were traveling in India for my friend's wedding, we stayed at this place that was very nice and spa treatments were included. You could get one massage a day. So we got a massage every day and it was fantastic.
That's the dream. I need a massage.
Yeah, it was really nice. I wish massages in America were not as expensive as they were. I would go far more often, but they are mad pricey.
Oh, they are expensive everywhere. So here is terrible.
The only places I've run into luck with spas not costing a lot, or at least massages not costing a lot, Thailand and India. So if you ever find yourself over there for whatever reason, make it happen because they are affordable. Certainly by comparison to what you get in the US.
Cool.
So narrator Percy describes the place as they are walking around. Quote, the place was amazing. There was white marble and blue water everywhere I looked. Terraces climbed up the side of the mountain with swimming pools on every level connected by water slides and waterfalls and underwater tubes that you could swim through. Fountains sprayed water into the air, forming impossible shapes like flying eagles and galloping horses. And then there's this really crushing moment of Percy knowing that Tyson would love this place, and he almost turns to see what Tyson's reaction would be, but then realizes, oh, right, Tyson isn't here. Oof. Ugh.
That break me.
Yeah.
Every time.
It hit me hard.
It's so sad. He almost turned around. He tries.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
It's really crushing. I need Tyson back. Annabeth sees Percy's face, knows something is wrong, asks him what's wrong, but Percy lies and says he's okay. I love that Annabeth, being a good friend, is perceptive as to when Percy's not feeling good. Makes me love their relationship that much more.
Yeah, they know each other. That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
They are used to each other, so they know when they are not feeling good. And even if it's like, well, they're not good in general because this is not a big good situation anyway. But but they know.
They can tell. So they pass loads of animals, but the only guests at the resort are young women sipping on drinks and getting various spa treatments. As they walk up the stairs to the main building, Percy hears beautiful singing in a language that he can tell isn't ancient Greek, but instead may be Minoan. And I'm not well-versed in Greek myths, but this felt like a clue about the dangers that lie ahead that was just going over my head, and we will just have to see.
Yeah, I mean, Minoan for me is nothing. I don't know what that is, but I know the story we are referring here, so I get it. But for me, it wasn't even a clue. I don't know what that is. So
I know it's an ancient Greek type thing, but I don't know enough. But I feel like it's one of those islands or lands around Greece, just something nearby, or at least a different culture within Greece. But it was something that I recognized as being close, but not exactly Greek.
Oh, the island of Minos, probably.
Oh, yes. That would be it for sure.
Yeah.
Reading this chapter made me feel like when I was reading the Medusa chapter in The Lightning Thief, where they drop little hints that become more and more obvious as it goes. But in this case, who Cece becomes, I don't know that myth at all. So every time they dropped a hint, I could tell they were dropping a hint, but I had no idea what was happening. So it made me way more scared than normal because I knew something was being presented to me as a hint, but I did not know where it was leading, and that was not fun. We will see. So Percy can still understand the song, even though it's not in ancient Greek. He says it's about moonlight in the olive groves and the color of the sunrise and magic. And the song has this magnetic charm to it where he feels like it almost is going to pick him up off his feet like a Looney Tunes character sniffing the smell waves off of a pie on a windowsill.
Literally magic.
Inside this main building, it is fancy and it is large. Percy notices a wire pet cage in the corner that seems out of place, but doesn't pay it much mind because he finally sees the woman who has been singing. And I knew that this was going to be a problem, but again, had no idea what it was. I just knew this was bad.
Don't mind the pet cage at the side. Just look at the woman.
Yes. Pay no attention to the pet cage behind the curtain. Just look at me, a woman at a large loom working on a three-dimensional looking tapestry. She herself, as described by narrator Percy, is as pretty as the gorgeous fabric that she is working on. She has long dark hair braided with threads of gold. She has piercing green eyes and is wearing a silky black dress with shapes that move in the fabric, kind of like Hades' clothes in book 1. There are these animal shadows black on black within her dress, and that sounds super cool.
The descriptions of any fabric in these books are amazing. I wish they actually exist because they are really good.
Yes, I would love it. Gosh, it would also be so cool if some sort of high-end fashion designer teamed up with Disney, Hyperion, whoever they need to do to make it happen.
That would be amazing.
Right?
Yes. Oh, the shirts with that type of fabric. Oh, I mean, yes. I don't know if I had a shirt with souls screaming from it. Probably I would, actually. Yes. But I don't know if I will wear it outside.
I would for sure at least rock this kind of animal on animal, shadow on shadow print. That'd be very cool. I would also rock whatever Hades' underwear where it's got the souls. I would rock those for sure. So maybe not in public, but at least underneath my pants, I've got the cool Hades underwear pattern going on. So the woman can tell that Annabeth is admiring the weaving, and it was pretty obvious because Annabeth said, "It's so pretty," out loud earlier. And Annabeth almost blurts out that her mother is Athena, but stops short. There's this not great reference from narrator Percy where he says that no one would just go around blabbing that their mom is Athena. Otherwise, they would lock you in a rubber room, which feels like a very dismissive kind of mental health thing that I guess was more commonplace back then, but just didn't love that. It was just highly unnecessary.
Yeah, I remember back in the day that probably we used to say that like without a care.
Yeah. It's one of those comments that I would assume if Rick rewrote the book, he would say, I'm just going to delete that sentence. That's not accomplishing anything. It's not a particularly funny joke. It's not really doing much here.
It's not even good.
No, it's just not worth it. And that's the thing you have to do in script writing. When we were writing the script for Modern Muckraker, we tried to make sure that the jokes weren't punching down. And if there was one where we were on the fence, if it wasn't that funny or that important, just delete the joke. It's just not worth it to make a joke that's maybe going to rub someone the wrong way.
Yeah, true.
So this woman introduces herself as Cece. And just like Auntie M, this had me worried. I didn't like the acronyming of her name, and later we will see what Cece stands for. So I was right to have this concern. The animals in the cage in the corner start to squeal, and Percy thinks they must be guinea pigs. And this was, again, another one of those, someone's going to know what this story is. I'm not that someone.
I mean, why guinea pigs in this spa? Why? It's not common to have any kind of animal in a spa. So.
Right. But if there were to be any sort of animal, it would be something luxurious, like a peacock. Or something more elegant. But yes, to have guinea pigs doesn't seem like a proper fit. Shout out to my sister's guinea pig, Cookie. May she rest in peace. We had her when we were younger. The only pet I've ever come close to having was my sister having a guinea pig.
Oh, I thought your sister was your pet. I'm sorry.
No. My older sister, Megan, had a pet guinea pig when we were in New Jersey when she was like in 6th grade or something, and had it for a couple years. And Cookie was an interesting one. Shout out to her.
He was a cookie.
So Percy and Annabeth introduce themselves, and Percy feels like he's letting Cece down. He has this desire to please her. And Cece says they clearly need her help, and she asks the clipboard lady to take Annabeth on a tour. And at this point, I thought, okay, is this some sort of Amazon Wonder Woman thing where there's only women here and men are not gonna be treated well, or they have some sort of vendetta against them? We'll see how that manifests. But instantly, by separating them, I felt like there was clearly some sort of men-women divide here.
All the red flags.
Cece suggests an entire makeover for Annabeth as well, and Annabeth particularly takes offense to the comment that Cece makes, which is, quote, "and the hair, my goodness." Annabeth was upset that someone would diss her hair. I think she's at least always been described as having good hair, so for someone to diss her hair, I can't stand for that.
This is just an attack on her autoesteem. Self-consciously, they're telling her, you are not good enough. And that's it.
Just some negging from Cece.
Yes. And just saying that your hair looks bad, even if it's not that bad. But she was out at the sea, she was fighting, she's tired, whatever. And they want to please her. And she is telling them that they look terrible and they are not good.
Right.
So that's terrible for them. And also, I guess this is why some people like to imagine Annabeth as a mixed race character. Because of this type of comments. Because I cannot speak about African American people because that's not my culture. But here in Latin America, we have something similar. We have a lot of mixed race people. And hair is very important to us too. So consciously, we are taking care of our hair all the time. And I remember people telling me that I don't have a good hair type.
They are wrong. Your hair looks great. They are wrong.
Well, I mean, I have short hair now, but
I mean, still, looks great.
But yeah, I used to battle with my hair every day. Every morning I have to taking care of it a lot. And then one day I decide to just cut it off and that's it. But I remember people telling me that it wasn't straight, it wasn't good. Everything that people say to you.
Yeah. Okay, so just holding your hair up to the Western ideals of the straight hair. Yeah. That's something I could totally see here, because to say the hair, my goodness, yeah, we could interpret that as Cece being a white woman with bad ideas about people having different types of hair. I like that read. That's fun.
And I mean, they explain that Cece has long black hair. So it's comparing, let's say she is perfect. She looks amazing.
Right.
And she's saying that Annabeth's hair, it's not good. So how, why? That's the point.
Okay. So Cece smiles and says that Annabeth is wasting her potential, which feels very rude. Cece keeps trying to convince her, and then Annabeth's eyes glow with longing. And she asks, but what about Percy? And I didn't know if the longing here, was she longing for Cece's approval like Percy was feeling? Or Was she longing for Percy?
Oh,
I was
okay.
intrigued by the timing. I think in retrospect, knowing what we know later in the chapter, I think it was that same longing for Cece's approval. But to have eyes of longing immediately followed by asking, but what about Percy? Had me sitting up in my chair a little upright.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that's a good read too. I like that one.
Cece says that Percy, of course, needs a makeover as well, but Percy needs her personal attention because he needs much more work than Annabeth. Narrator Percy notes that normally he would have been angry at a comment like this, but in this case, he feels like he's disappointed Cece and he needs to do better, again, really wanting to win over that approval. And after this, the guinea pigs squeal like they are hungry. I don't love this. I don't like the guinea pigs being here. Now I don't like that they are potentially evil guinea pigs. Really just a ton of bad vibes in this place.
I mean, just the sound. Do you imagine the sound of guinea pigs just squeaking there? Being hungry is like, oh no.
Not a comforting noise. So Hilla, or Hyla, she's the assistant to Cece. She whisks Annabeth away into the waterfall-laced gardens of the spa, and Cece takes Percy up to the mirrored wall. And Cece says, the first step to realizing your potential is admitting that you don't like the way you look. And focusing on his looks makes PJ really uncomfortable. He's reminded of the pimple that he got on his nose right before school started, and the fact that his front teeth don't line up properly, or that his hair never stays down. And the teeth thing, I think, is particularly interesting. In the last episode, we already talked about how I had a rough tooth braces headgear situation, but recently I went to the dentist in New York. It was my first time going to this dentist, so they were checking out my teeth and all this kind of stuff, asking me some questions. And at one point, the dentist goes, oh, do you want to fix that chip that's in your front tooth? And I went, the chip that's in my front tooth? I'd never really noticed it before. Now, anytime I see my teeth, I can tell there's a very, very slight imperfection.
Oh, no.
I know. And it's so tiny that it would not warrant whatever sort of cost it would be to fix it. So I think I'm just going to wait until, if there ever is a time that they're already in my teeth doing something, whether it's a filling or whatever, I'll just ask, hey, while you're in there, and see if I can weasel my way into a free little chip fix. But it is so tiny, I've never noticed it, but now I cannot unsee it.
That happens. But yeah, here Percy's saying that he started to actually feel very self-conscious about his looks. It's terrible because he's 13. It's not good for someone that young.
No.
And I like the way that they describe that his hair is very messy in general, because that's how all of us start to draw him, like with the very messy hair.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time that I saw images about Percy Jackson, the first original, like the ones that Rick has back in the day, they weren't that good.
Yeah, I've heard the official art was pretty rough early on.
Yeah, and he used to have like his hair down. It wasn't messy at all. So it was very weird. So, I don't know. Probably they base half of that drawing to this description because it's not a pretty look. But yeah, they missed that part.
Well, I'm glad they seem to have corrected it, and I feel like they will correct it with the TV show casting, given what the kid actor looks like. He had a bit of a messy hair vibe going on, at least in the Adam Project, where I saw him being a sassy younger Ryan Reynolds. So I think they'll get it right this time.
I mean, that discussion about the hair of this kid that is going to portray another kid is not the best way to start a conversation about Percy Jackson anything. But yeah, I got so many messages on one of my drawings that I did about this kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that everyone is posted that he needed to have his hair dyed with a different color and the eyes and whatever. It's just appearances. And I just told everyone that this is Disney. Disney has so much money.
Yeah.
They can create hair digitally. So it doesn't matter. Please don't focus on that.
Right. And even if they didn't change his hair color, I feel like they probably will. But what's infinitely more important is to try to nail the personality of Percy.
Exactly.
And I feel like this kid is going to nail it. He seemed like a very talented kid actor. So I think it'll be good.
Yeah.
So Cece's voice makes him feel this dread, even going on to where Percy just knows that his clothes aren't cool, which I felt like that was pretty harsh. He's just wearing jeans and a t-shirt, right? That's fine. Come on.
And he was at sea. Like, what else are you wearing?
Cut him some slack. So Cece snaps her fingers and a sky blue curtain rolls down over the mirror. She asks what he sees, and Percy's confused, but then this blank curtain changes, and it's a reflection, but not a reflection. reflection. He can see himself, but obviously it's not a mirror. But on the cloth is a cooler Percy with a confident smile, straight teeth, no acne, a perfect tan. He's more athletic and a little bit taller. It is basically PJ without any faults.
This is most of our fan art all the time.
Yeah, the perfect image. Percy.
Yes, this is the perfect Percy. It's every fan art I ever seen in my life, even mine.
Now, Percy is impressed, and Cece asks if he wants to try something else, and he says, no, that's perfect, and it would be very impressive if she was able to make him look like that. Percy then asks what the catch is, wondering if he has to eat some sort of special diet, and Cece says, fresh fruit, mild exercise, and of course, this. So she goes over to a bar and fills a glass with water, pours in some red powder, and the drink then ends up looking like a strawberry milkshake. She says to substitute one of those for a meal, and he'll see the results immediately. This is so sketchy. These are drugs, Percy. Get out of there.
In the last book, there were a lot of reference to mushrooms for some reason. Mm-hmm. Now it's just, here, have some weird drink. So I don't know what's going on with these books, but...
This could be maybe a good life lesson that Rick is trying to teach kids. Do not drink things that people have put stuff into without you knowing what they are. Yeah. An important life lesson. Percy asks how it's possible, and Cece does not answer, but instead laughs and says, why question it? I mean, don't you want the perfect you right away? So sketchy. Unbelievably sketchy. You gotta get out of there, Percy.
Please run, please.
Now, Percy kind of picks up what I'm putting down. He asks, how come there aren't any guys at the spa? And Cece assures him that there are, saying that he will meet them quite soon if he just tries the mixture. Not good. Not a fun way to phrase that.
There's not one red flag anymore. It's like 7.
Yeah,
everywhere.
It's all just, everything is just red. Percy looks at the cool Percy in the reflection. He hesitates a bit, and that causes Cece to say that the hardest part is just letting go. She asks Percy, do you trust your, in italics, judgment, or should you trust my, in italics, judgment instead? And Percy almost involuntarily says, your judgment. And Cece hands him the glass, and he lifts it to his lips. And oh no, he drinks it, which I really didn't think he would do. I thought Annabeth was going to come back or Percy was going to snap out of it, but no. He drinks it. It tastes like a strawberry milkshake, which I love. I think strawberry milkshakes are very good and very underrated. And recently I had a strawberry milkshake with Oreo cookies in it. So basically cookies and cream, but with strawberry. Had never thought to do it before, but the nice woman that worked at Cookout in Atlanta, Georgia, informed me that that's her favorite milkshake. And she was right. It's very good. Highly recommend to everybody out there. He says when he drinks it, it feels nice and warm inside at first, but that doesn't last long because it soon becomes painfully hot, like it's boiling in his stomach. He drops the cup, he doubles over in pain, and Cece assures him that the pain will pass and tells him to look in the mirror to see his immediate results. And at this point, I thought, oh, we saw animals before. Are all of these animals that were out there, are they the guys? Is Percy going to turn into an animal? And then narrator Percy says the following. In the mirror, I saw my hands shriveling, curling, growing long, delicate claws. Fur sprouted on my face, under my shirt, and in every uncomfortable place you can imagine. So I'm assuming the bathing suit areas. My teeth felt too heavy in my mouth. My clothes were getting too big, or Cece was getting too tall. No, I was shrinking. And then I immediately wrote in my notes, oh, right, the guinea pigs.
That's not how puberty works, I think.
No.
But yeah.
So that's exactly what's happened. He shrunk down. He's inside his clothes. He can't see anything. Cece picks him up and shows him up to the mirror so he can see this reveal. Quote, a guinea pig. Lovely, aren't you? Men are pigs, Percy Jackson. I used to turn them into real pigs, but they were so smelly and large and difficult to keep. Not much different than they were before, really. Guinea pigs are much more convenient. Now come and meet the other men. And, you know, Cece, you're not wrong, but maybe you're going about this in the wrong way. But as a whole, can't deny, men, we're not good. As a whole, we're bad.
The myth is basically that. She turned a lot of people into pigs, especially men. And this change to guinea pigs, I guess, is for this young kids novel. So yeah. It's more fun. I guess it's a little less disturbing than turning into a pig. Because have you seen Spirited Away?
Yes. Oh.
Yeah, when the parents turn to pigs. That's the image. So I guess Percy turning into a pig like that is not good at all. I prefer a guinea pig.
Yeah, I think Uncle Rick made the right call here. I think what's also fun about it is that if you did know the myth, maybe this was a bit of a misdirect. And it is kind of fun to do the pig versus guinea pig thing. That's a fun little turn of phrase. And yeah, it's more fun for Percy to turn into a tiny, cute little furry critter as opposed to him turning into a big, oinking, squeaking pig.
Yeah, that's something that didn't translate well to the Spanish translation because you can play the words with pigs and guinea pigs, but in Spanish it doesn't work like that. So one of my friends told me that and I was like, oh, that's weird because it's not the same joke. It's not a joke anymore. So
are they still guinea pigs, not a different animal?
Yeah, it's the same animal, but it's called differently. So it's called a cobaya.
Okay.
So it takes away the fun part of going from pigs to guinea pigs. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then what's the Spanish word for pig?
Cerdo.
Oh, yeah. Those are okay.
It's not even close.
What would be fun is if they found some other wordplay. Like if there was some other version of pig guinea pig where they could do that, but
yeah, it could be fun. But I don't know, with a small animal, it's very difficult.
Yeah, it would have to line up exactly perfectly. So Percy can't speak anymore. He doesn't become a magical speaking, talking guinea pig. He just reet in protest. And that's just a fun onomatopoeia that he just keeps reet, R-E-E-T-ing, which is great.
I love that it's part of his narration too. Like he's trying to say something and when he say in his mind, it's just reet.
It's great. It's really funny. And I know the Sea of Monsters movie is supposed to be very bad, but I am intrigued to see what this scene looks like and eventually when the Disney Plus show does a better version of it. But as scary as this is, this would be a really fun scene.
I have a lot of anger about the second movie. So, yeah.
Okay. I have not heard a single person say anything redeeming. I think the closest is someone said, I didn't think it was as bad as everyone says it is. So that's the most positive praise I've heard about that movie.
No, I don't know how to explain this because I knew it was going to be bad, but they show a lot of pictures like from the sets and everything. And people got excited because they were nice.
Okay.
So when the movie came out, it was like, what is this?
Oh,
What's going on?
Got their hopes up. So when Percy tries to scratch Cece, she squeezes him so tightly that he almost passes out, and she warns not to do that, otherwise she will feed him to the owls. And I think that is a thing. I think owls do eat guinea pigs. So When they said that, that tracked.
Yes.
So she says that if Percy's on good behavior, tomorrow she will set him free to become a classroom guinea pig for kindergartners, which is incredible. Oh, what a wonderful little note to have here.
A new job, I guess. He's going to get a new job.
Percy tries to formulate some sort of plan to get back to his clothes, but then he realizes if I did even get to my clothes and I got to pen version of Riptide in my pants, I'm a guinea pig. I can't wield this sword. What am I even going to do? So Cece brings Percy over to the cage and says that some of the guinea pigs here have been around for over 300 years, which sounds quite horrible, and I would not want to be a guinea pig in a cage for 300 years, especially because the life expectancy of a guinea pig is maybe 2 years. So
yeah, it's like 2 years.
To be 300 wouldn't be very fun. Cookie, our guinea pig from the past, I think lasted 3 years, and that was quite the achievement for young Cookie to increase that life expectancy by 50%.
Good for Cookie.
Good for Cookie. So Cece is about to put Percy into the cage, and then we hear Annabeth say, Miss Cece, which causes Cece to curse in ancient Greek. And I thought, good, if she's angry, that's a good thing. But then she shoves Percy into the cage, closes it, and then hides his clothes. And I wrote, no, because that's not what you want. I was hoping Annabeth would save the day, and we will see. But we are out of time. So on this cliffhangery note of Annabeth returning, we will end this episode of The Newest Olympian. But Sarah, thank you so much for joining along. This was such a fun time.
Thank you for having me. This was very fun and very exciting.
Yes, an exciting chapter. That hour passed incredibly quickly, but it was a joy to have you on. If people want to find you doing stuff, whether it's your art, your podcast, anything else, where can they find you?
Yeah, well, you can find my stuff on Twitter, on Instagram, at HellRedSky. You can find also my podcast. It's a Latin American podcast about Percy Jackson. Also Twitter and Instagram as Erosgrafia Pod. And we talk about Percy Jackson, also rereading the books and comparing the books to the Spanish translation.
Yeah, that's fun. I will say your art is fantastic. We have shared it across the TNO socials because you have been so kind as to draw some of the stuff that we've talked about. Cannot recommend your art enough. I will say that I did have to mute your socials just in case you ever make a spoiler art, but I look forward to the day when I've read all the books and then I can look back at all the stuff you've done. But I appreciate the art that you've made for this show, and to have you on as a guest has been great. And yeah, for any folks out there looking for a Latin American Percy Jackson podcast, get on it.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Well, Sarah, thank you for joining. Listeners, thank you for listening. And until we see how Annabeth's makeover turned out, I'll see you later. Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Newest Olympian. This podcast is created, hosted, and produced by me, Mike Schubert. I also run the social media and the website. Our editor is Sherry Guo. The music is by Bettina Campamanes and Brandon Krugel, and the art is by Jessica E. Boyd. If you love the show, you cannot get enough of the show, you need some more, you can go to thenewestolympian.com/Patreon, and you can get access to more bonus episodes, monthly live streams, the Discord, so much fun stuff, all at thenewestolympian.com/Patreon. And speaking of the Patreon, I want to give a shout out to our producer level patrons: Lana Bartova, Kelsey Gillespie, The Damn Steam Nuggets, Emma Cooey, Vicky Garcia, Ellie Housekovchova, Veronica Bartova, Haley Hastings, Robin Garcia, Frida Vikstrom, Megan Moon, Tough Bayfong, Moo Productions, Don't Call Me Nymphadora, Olivia Y, Craig McRoberts, Taylor Payne, Giselle Salvador, Minka Dreesen, Can't-I Seaweed Brain, Matt Barger, Peter Johnson the Twin, Sabrina Balsiger, Boney Pony, Getting Stoned with Smelly Gabe, Heather McMillan, Casey Canales, Polly Burridge, Nikki Harris, Tatiana Schmidt, Sandra Rose, Bridget Lowry, Josh Sayer, Percy Blue, Josh Wilkie, Abby Ryan, Shannon Ivanez Aguilar, Wise Girl, Alpacas Are Hope, Milo TZ, Roxas 1912, Rafaela, Ashton Gabrielson, Cara Marin, Colby, Marco Redhouse, Falcon, Joey James, Christopher William Boucher, Justin Lux, Caden Max, Sam Ruby, Carly Allen, Riley Kiedis, Mary Kelly, Audra McKenzie, Mrs. O'Leary, Marina Foose, Aaron Wood, and Tyler Hendricks. Now, if you want to support the show, but in a non-monetary way, first you could follow us on social media. We're at Newest Olympian on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We also have a subreddit, reddit.com/r/thenewest-olympian. And then you could talk about us on social media. That really helps. Word of mouth is really huge. Or you could leave a rating and review on whatever podcast app you're using. So Apple Podcasts or Spotify let you rate. If you want to rate us, leave a nice review. That's really nice. But honestly, the biggest thing, word of mouth. If you think of someone that would love the show, reach out to them directly and say, hey, there's this podcast, there's this guy, he's reading the Percy Jackson books for the very first time. I think you're going to like it. Here's a link to it. That is huge. All of these things help, and I'm appreciative to all of you who have done it or who will do it in the future. But I'm just so thankful that you listened to this episode, and I hope you tune in to our next episode where we are joined by repeat guest Alyssa Esteban as we finish up Chapter 12 and get into Chapter 13 of The Sea of Monsters. But until then, I'll see you later. Hey everyone, how's it going? It's me, ASMR Mike. On last week's episode, the ASMR Mike section featured Poppy Seed the cat, and everyone was a big fan. So what I've done for this week's segment is more Poppy Seed the cat, but this was Poppy Seed the cat meowing at the door because Poppy Seed wanted to go outside, but I'd let Poppy Seed outside already, but then Poppy Seed chased a bird, and I was afraid that Poppy Seed would leave and run away, and I didn't want to lose my friend's cat, who so graciously let me stay and work at their apartment while they were out of the house. So I brought Poppy Seed back inside and said, you have lost outdoor privileges. So here's Poppy Seed the cat trying to tell me, hello, I would like to go outside, and me not budging from my stance.